for our second time. This is our second Cafecito Chat here in Phoenix. We're going to be talking today about generational wealth. I think this is a topic that's so important, especially in our community. It's dear to my heart because I'm a first-gen student, or a first-generation overall. And I don't think my parents, although they're very knowledgeable on so many topics, they don't really know much about how to build generational wealth. So I'm so excited to take these lessons and take them back home and apply them to my life as the first person to get started with generational wealth, hopefully. Here at Poderistas, if you don't know much about us, we are a nonprofit built to empower and have the modern day Latina civically engaged through activism, through civic engagement, through whatever it is that you do. You can bring your poder and empower other people in our community as well. So we thank you for being a part of this brilliant community, because without you guys, we wouldn't be here. And without you guys, I feel like we wouldn't even have a purpose, because everything we do is for you guys and for our community and to elevate each other. Before we get started, we would like to introduce David Parra, and he is the Associate State Director for Multicultural Outreach for AARP here in Arizona. In his current role, he is the producer and host of AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection, which is a radio and social media platform that seeks to educate the important issues around Latinos and celebrate our accomplishments for all Hispanics and generations to come. So please welcome David.
Oops, thank you. We have two guys here, so I don't feel as lonely here. It's a privilege and an honor to be here. I'm David Parra. My brief bio didn't tell you, but I was born in Mexico, came to the United States when I was 12 years old. Grew up in East Los Angeles. I'm in Phoenix, have been working for AARP for 20 years. I would like to tell you that somebody reached out for me from National, told me that we have this partnership with Poderistas. And I said, whoa, what is that? So I started looking into it. It's an amazing concept. We obviously are for it. We are a partner with Poderistas, and they asked me to come and represent AARP. It is my understanding that AARP has been part of this for several events in the realm of advocacy, in the realm of finances, and entrepreneurship and all that. So we are all for it. Have a daughter, 30 plus years old. And so she's that first generation that you were mentioning. So we're all kind of seeing how she evolves, and we have some experience in this realm of building generational wealth. I call myself a lucky father because all my 3 children listen to me, and because I am with AARP, I have learned so much. I mean, AARP is like a university in itself, and I've been able to practice some of the concepts that I've learned. It's particularly the finances. No, they have their homes paid off, both 2 of them already. The third one is in his fourth year in university at ASU. So it pays off to learn the concepts, to learn how the system works in the United States, how to invest in this and that. So AARP is that we're always guilty. I always feel guilty that we don't do enough of a good job to letting people know what AARP has to offer. So besides telling you that we are a proud partner of Poderistas, I want you to remember that you can always go to aarp.org and explore. I mean, you're super smart, you're young, you're fresh. Explore all the things that we have to offer. We have a particular booklet that I would recommend. It's called Finances 50 Plus. Don't be misled by the 50 plus. Finances is across the board, applies for everybody. And then we have a calculator. Actually, it's called, let me give you the exact name. It's called, let me see, where did I write that down? Oh, Money Map. Money Map. So Money Map and the Finances 50 plus are 2 things you can't miss. They're for you if they help you in any way. But let me just conclude by saying we are a proud partner, a proud sponsor of all these Poderistas and Cafecito Chat. But I also have a Facebook page called the AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. You will do me a big favor if you follow me on that page, because I have events in the community events that are very culturally relevant. And I produce a lot of content on Medicare, Social Security, retirement, estate planning for retirement, and all these concepts. I am versed on those things, believe it or not. So if you would like to stay in touch with me and my work for AARP, remember, AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection, is Facebook. I know some of you produce a lot of content, lots of content on issues, finances, Social Security, Medicare, how to prepare for retirement, et cetera, etc., etc. And so I'll hope to see you there and hope you can join us in some of the events. Again, thank you very much for the opportunity. And I really hope that you get a lot of benefits from this meeting here. Thank you so much.
So we're here. Everyone's here. And we just want to take a quick moment. I want you to take a really big deep breath for me. Just a really big one. Do the 5, 5, 5. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds pause, and 5 seconds out. Because when we talk about money, we know it's super important. We know it's something that we need. We know we live in a capitalistic world, but it can also trigger us, right? And we sometimes compare ourselves to other people's journeys, and we sometimes try to have a misunderstanding that we're behind or we're not doing enough or we have no idea what we're doing, so we stay overwhelmed and we don't do anything. But you guys are doing something. You're here, and that takes a lot of courage. That takes a lot of poder already. So you already have that. Now it's just making sure your human side sees that, because your essence, who you are, your highest self already is connected to wealth. So one more deep breath. And everything we're going to talk about is just more information for you to grow and continue evolving to your highest self that's within you already. Okay? So if you don't know, I love to talk. My name's Marisol Isaula. I am a life coach, and I also have a podcast, the Wealthy Mujer podcast. My whole focus is to help women of color gain clarity, direction, self-trust, so they can take really bold moves and make their dreams a reality, make their vision actually come true. And a lot of that is done through redefining wealth. So I have a framework called the Wealthy Mujer, and it encompasses the well-being of your entire human existence. And there's 6 pillars to that. The first one is purpose. What the heck are we doing on this earth? What is our purpose? What are we called to do? The next one is relationships. Am I in relationships that serve me? Am I removing myself from relationships that don't? How's my relationship with money, with health, with family, with myself? The next one is spirit, or if we're not spiritually inclined, confidence. How am I connecting with my emotional and mental well-being? And the next one is health. How are we connecting with being fit, which is focused, intentional, and truthful with our body, with our mind, and with our emotions? The next one is communication. Are we working on communicating effectively our needs, our wants, our desires, our boundaries, girl? Because some Latinas, we're not really good at boundaries, or we're good at like wanting to have boundaries, but then we don't respect them, right? And we're wanting everyone to, you better respect my boundary. I'm just not going to respect mine though, but you have to, right? And the last one, you know my friend Riri, right? What does she say? Better have my money. Don't act like, okay, so that's the 6th one, because when you focus on all the other pillars, money is a byproduct. Money is an energetic exchange, and there's plenty of it for everyone. We just have to figure out our own path to get it. We're not here to compare ourselves to that lane and to this lane. We're not even on the same freeway. We're on our own freeway. So prior to doing this and becoming a life coach and having incredible clients and hosting my podcast, I had 15 years of corporate marketing. And guess what happened? I burnt out. And I had this most beautiful, delicious midlife crisis at 35, 2 years ago, which broke me so beautifully that rays of light came through the rubble. And I figured out, oh my God, this is my purpose. I want to be able to get paid to hold up a mic and to coach and help other women exceed, because this isn't a triangle where the top of the top makes it. No, it's the opposite. It's the upside down triangle. When if one woman wins, vámonos, tú vente conmigo, comadre. Ay, vente, tía, vámonos, prima, amiga, vámonos. And there's room for all of us on top. See, you guys held hands. That's cute. See, you're on top of the pyramid. Yes, I love it. There's room for everyone on top. Okay. So I'm obviously a Latina, Sonora, Mexico. Any Sonorenses, Jackies? Ooh, ooh, ooh. I am the youngest of 2. I have 2 beautiful bonus babies, 4 dogs, and a beautiful godson and an incredible husband and family. But other than that, I don't want to take the whole full time, because I was just here last week doing a workshop and I spoke for 3 hours. So I could take the mic, but I want to introduce everyone else on the panel because they're freaking incredible too. I need to let you know I'm going to do a lot of reading, one, because there's so much good information, and I want to make sure that I don't skip a beat, okay? So I'm going to start to read, but I'm going to be very elaborate when I read, okay? So you won't even notice that I'm reading, okay? Okay, so Latinas are not only the backbone of our families, but we're in many ways the backbone of America. We're told to pursue the power of the American dream, but we're not given the tools to pursue that dream by a culture that often equates survival with success. Anybody else feel that? Oh, remember those big deep breaths? We're going to do a lot of those today. Culture norms about money also stand in our way, as does a lack of access to resources and programs that can make a significant impact on our path to generational wealth and poder. Still, our influence is enormous, whether that's on the U.S. economy or communities or our families or ourselves. It's no surprise that money matters are of the utmost importance to Latinas, but they're also a source of great stress and anxiety. Remember I told you might get triggered a little bit? There's the 5 T's. Trust the trigger to teach. Okay, trust the trigger to teach. So when you're feeling triggered, there's something you need to know about yourself, and we're not going to be mean about it. We're not going to feel like we're being mean to ourselves. We're going to be gentle and ask the trigger, why are you here? Because that's going to give you the answer for your next step of what your action should be, okay? So I'm really looking forward to dig into this topic here today, and I truly have the incredible honor to sit next to these incredible 3 women. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce everyone. And we're going to start with the most beautiful Beatriz Acevedo. She is a leading inspirational voice and Latina entrepreneur in the United States. She has dedicated her career to empower and open doors for the next generation of Latinx leaders. She founded and leads SUMA, a wealthy building digital platform for the Latinx community via a holistic approach of digital media, fine tech, and virtual experiences. Girl, you busy. No, you're not. You take that back. Apologize to yourself really quick for that. Yes, that's right. Thank you. So, okay, I'm gonna make you apologize if you being mean. Beatriz is a proud Latina entrepreneur, community builder, thought leader, and social advocate, bilingual multi-award-winning producer, and cultural strategist. Girl, yes, you are. Early this year, Poderistas featured Beatriz as one of the visionary Latinas for the amazing work she does for our community. Everybody, please, round of applause for Beatriz, and please feel free to have a seat. So happy. She flew from LA this morning, okay, just to be here with us. Next, we have, I don't know if you know her, she owns this really beautiful location that has incredible businesses Latina-owned. Her name's Stephanie Vasquez. Stephanie is the owner of Fairtrade Cafe, Phoenix's longest-standing Latina-owned coffee shop in downtown Phoenix. Mother of 3, she is a businesswoman and first in her family to graduate college. Anybody else? Raise your hand. Look at that. Look how beautiful that is. Okay. After obtaining her degree in education from ASU, she began her career as a middle school teacher and soon discovered the connection between Mother Earth, consumption, and people. Stephanie is dedicated to sustainability, sourcing locally and ethically while creating a space that is inclusive and inviting. I think we all feel that today, right? Look at that. Look at what you do, girl. She has also created Amor Collective, a brick and mortar store for Latina-owned businesses to come together and showcase their work. And we were just talking about it this morning. This is the first in Arizona. So being a trailblazer, ooh, that takes guts. So please bring Stephanie up. Big applause. Get it, girl. Get it. Get it. Woo, woo, woo. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Mwah. Okay, and next, last but most certainly not least, we have Jenavi, or we can call her Jen, Kasper. Jen is a two-time entrepreneur and the founder and CEO of La Jefa status. Do we all feel like jefas up in here sometimes? We sure do. We should say always, but let's be honest. Sometimes the jefa needs to sleep, right, or rest a little bit. But we're still jefas. We're still doing jefa things. So the CEO of La Jefa status, a coaching and consulting business dedicated to decolonizing entrepreneurship and creating more equitable access to business education for women of color. She does this through her private client business coaching, her online business education membership, Brown Girl Business School, and her podcast, the Brown Girl Business School Podcast. You busy too, my love? In her corporate role, Jen is an award-winning senior vice president and marketing director for one of the nation's largest regional banks and has over 15 years of experience working with business owners of all sizes and industries. Wow. Please, round of applause for Jen. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to have a seat now. I'm going to bring my cafecito, guys, because I like to talk a lot. I'm going to pass the mic to everyone. And I just would love for you to share a little bit about yourself and your relationship with money.
So my name is Jen. I'm from here, and I'm wearing green because my favorite color is green, because green is the color of money. And I love to talk about money because we don't do it enough. And the things that we can't talk about and can't acknowledge and can't recognize are things that we're never going to be able to obtain. And it's not something that we're used to talking about. So I share openly. I mean, Stephanie can tell you that's like all I talk about is business and money, how to grow things internally and externally. But why I started my business is exactly the things that we're talking about today. Is we have unequitable access to the information and the opportunities that allow us to build wealth and allow us to really build the kinds of lives that we want and have the kind of impact that we want in a broader way. And seeing firsthand, working at a bank, and I'll tell you more stories as we go through this, but working at a bank and meeting all different types of business owners and seeing how they started and the networks that they had access to and the people who have the experts they had access to that we don't, that is the number one reason we are in this place right now where we are trying to catch up to everything. And so being someone who has access to resources, access to information, as soon as I found out about the Latina wealth gap and the pay gaps, like I cannot walk this earth knowing that this exists and I'm not doing something about it when I know that I can. And so that was like in 2018, I think maybe. And since then, I've been trying to figure out how to use my skill set, how to use my voice, how to use my network and resources to make it easier for women to want to wear green because they like money.
That's right.
And they like having it.
Yes, I love that.
So I'm a money magnet and I attract all things that belong to me and everything flows to me easily. These are some of the mantras that I constantly tell myself. So I grew up here in Phoenix in Maryville where survival was really where my hustle started. And that was my motivation. And I was a teen mama, and thank goodness for my son because he gave me the why to go and to go hard. And so I have that speed that's so deeply ingrained in me and to create. However, my why has changed because it's no longer survival and it's no longer like this work has got to be so hard and I've got to white knuckle everything. Like now, like I can breathe a little bit and now it's thriving. And to define to myself what thriving means and to also apply that. And AYA, the nonprofit that I founded in 2016, it was founded because of the Latina Equal Pay gap. And I was asked to speak by the mayor, and I was shocked that we are the lowest paid people on the planet, still to this day. And I just thought, how is this our reality? And like Jenavi was saying, we don't have access to resources and the systems and all of these things. And rather than get upset by what is, I decided to create my own path and to create a very wide path for all of us. And we're sitting in one of those paths because a lot of times we feel it's not made for me. I don't belong there. People are going to judge me. So what other way to bring as many people as possible than Amor? It's called Amor. You can't call something love and not feel it when you come in. I mean, did you guys all feel it? Same thing with the coffee shop. To me, it's like building spaces for us, by us. So yes, I'm very aware of the Latina Equal Pay. I'm aware of the gap. I'm aware that the systems aren't in place. However, I'm going to create an avenue for me and as many people as possible to get through these doors and create our wealth and generational wealth. So I love this conversation because money was not something that my family ever talked about, ever. And probably because we didn't have it. So now to me, it's very important. You know, we spoke at the Mujer movement event a couple of weeks ago, and they asked me, what song do you want to play? And I was like, Dinero by J-Lo. Like, let's talk about money. Like, because there has been almost like shame and embarrassment or we judge people because of their success rather than like, hey, how did you get there? What did you do? And to me, like, let's talk about this. Let's dig in. And I'm sure I'm past my minute, so.
No, but it's actually a really good segue. So for me, I have a very different experience than my two fellow mujeres here. My dad hated rich people. Like, he just couldn't stand rich people. And he was an attorney, first in his family to go to college, and did incredibly well in his career. So he had a really at odds relationship with money, because first of all, he would always say like, ese rico nuevo, like he would just like despise rich people. He would be very excited when we would hear stories that somebody's Rolex got stolen on a stoplight in Mexico City. He was like, great, can you imagine how many months they're going to be able to feed these families? Like, why do they have Rolex? Like, he couldn't stand people with money. So when he did well in his career, I think the way that he, made it work was that he launched our family foundation that continues to work today, 30 years ago. And when he passed away, he left absolutely everything to the foundation, which I am incredibly proud of. My mom sometimes wishes he left her a little more to go to Ross or La Marshalls, but he did not. And I heard from my abuelita too, like, ay, mijita, el dinero es el diablo, and my dad con los ricos nuevos. So we only talked about money in a negative way. And I also heard my mom say like, ay, no tengo dinero, no tengo, because my dad would control her spending. And and we had enough to go to school, to go to college, to survive perfectly well as middle class people or upper middle class people. But my mom always had that mindset of scarcity, right? And my dad had the mindset of having anything is bad. So I was sort of in between both of them. And so the idea of wealth building was never something that I grew up with. I was lucky that I started my career super, super young, doing radio when I was 8, TV when I was 15. I won my first Emmys in my early 20s, and then launched this company called Me Too that maybe you guys know what it is, but it's a digital media company. And when I sold it a few years back, I was like, okay, it was the pandemic, and looking into the data, just like everybody else, all the numbers we heard that Latinos were not just the hardest hits with deaths, but also economic hardship. I thought maybe I can utilize, my funny memes to teach people a little bit about money, although I was learning along the way as well. So this concept of wealth building is very new to me. My parents never really wanted to have money. I guess it just came from their work, but wanted to give it all away. So they, even at this point, we have a foundation with a big endowment, but I need to take care of my mom financially, right? And my mom has a PhD. She's certainly very college educated, but she always was embarrassed to charge. We had always beautiful flowers at our house, and we'd be like, oh, you didn't get paid again, mom, but we got the flowers. And my mom was like, ay, no, pobrecitas, eran las monjitas. I can't charge las monjitas. So, my relationship with money is very complex for more than a minute, but I do what I do now because of that. I want to make sure that, everything I've learned, good and bad, I can give back to my community, and I can do it in, Bad Bunny memes and explaining with gorditas and arepas, FICO and Vantage credit scores. It's very me too, but in SUMA. And so yeah, that's why I'm here, and I have a lot other stuff to say later.
That's beautiful. Okay, so a little bit about me. I had a very different upbringing because my parents came here in the 80s, not thinking they were going to stay. They wanted just to step away from Mexico for a little bit and then go back. But things happened and they stayed, and my dad built a very profitable produce company. So if you're like super Arizona since birth, before Southwest or the mercados, there was Southwest. That was the first like Mexican Hispanic store, and my dad was the produce vendor for the 35 stores. So when I was a child, I knew what it was to have everything. Did I want 3 Barbie Jeeps with battery? Yes. Did I want dolls did we do Sunday Toys R Us? Yes, we had everything. But what I learned very quickly was my parents loved to spend money. My parents spend it so much so that when I was in college, Well, let's go ahead and say like up until like 10, 12 years old, what happened? The Southwest owner sold to Bashas and they took all the vendors out. So we went from having everything to my dad going back to the 35, the 40, the swap meets to sell his produce. So my dad was always a very extremely hardworking man. And what did my mom do? She started cleaning houses to still make something meet, to make sure we could have food and everything that we needed, electricity. Sometimes it was going to be frijolitos con tortillas. And sometimes it was going to be, we're not going to be able to pay the water bill. So we'll have a few days without water, but then we'll go ahead and pay it back. Again, I knew how to have everything and then I knew how to have nothing. So I had kind of like a full flip of the coin. So all of my student loan debt is because I had to take student loans out to help my parents. I had to now become the financial caregiver of my parents. And I remember getting really angry in my mid-20s when I saw we were throwing away things. Is after like 10 years, you can throw away all the taxes and documents, I think, or whatever it may be. And I saw that in 1996, my parents made $500,000 in their business. And where did that go? Why was I 23, 24 years old financially taking care of my parents? So what did I do? Well, F it up. I'm going to spend. I'm going to travel. I'm not even going to focus on investment because here I am using my paycheck to pay for all their bills while still trying to have a life. So I did not have the money mindset that I have now. So I equated money to be my definition of success. And my parents were adamant that you do not get to be an entrepreneur. You need to go corporate because that's the only way you'll actually have financial gain. So what did I do? I jumped the corporate ladder, started as an intern, and in about 12 years, I had 7 different various positions. I knew sales, marketing, and then I was a manager of product marketing for a big telecommunication company, 3rd largest in the nation. And I hit a huge bonus, plus 6 figures, everything. And I was like, when I get that bonus, I'm going to finally feel that I made it. And it was the complete opposite. I ended up feeling so unbelievably empty. And I realized very quickly that I was living in some sort of facade of being paycheck to paycheck because I had the nice house, I had the cars, I had every single thing. I had the partner, I had the dogs, I had all the parties, I had everything. But I was living for the outside world external validation and not my own. So that's when the most beautiful midlife crisis happened and I redefined my money mindset. I am in the trenches right now of starting to build a different relationship with my money. What happened? I quit my corporate job. We sold our house. And I kind of said, Mom, you got to pay me back. And we moved back home where the house is thankfully paid off. So I'm in year 2 of starting my business. And I haven't made the 6 figures yet, but I already know that I can do it. If I did it once, there's no way I can't do it again. So I am rebuilding my relationship with money, but one again that comes with my purpose, my relationships, my spirit, my health, and my communication and how I deal with money, because now I see money as an energetic exchange. Now I know that what I put into this earth is valuable, and it doesn't mean by how much money I have in the bank or what Chanel purse I have. It comes down to what I feel is best for me and how I can serve the community. So, I was telling my husband two or three nights ago, I was like, man, I feel so humbled by being an entrepreneur. Like, you actually have to hunt. Oh my gosh, like it takes work, right? So just to say is that it doesn't matter what phase in life you're in. I was 35 when I said, okay, I need to have a new relationship with money. And again, if I would have stayed in corporate, I'd be in a completely different ballpark, and that's okay. But I want to try this out for me, because what's the worst thing that can happen? No one can take away my life experience. No one can take my career away from me. No one can take my education. At any given time, I can go back. But I'm going to go ahead and take this leap of faith that I want to believe in myself. And we're going to build wealth together. Because when I win, everybody else wins. When you win, I win too. It is juntas podemos más, no separadas. So let's just jump right in, okay? So many of us were raised in a cash culture. Anybody find money still in the fridge or in little in the pantries or underneath the cushions, right? Because cash was king for my family. I don't know for anybody else, right? Okay, so we often view money as a survival tool and not a catalyst for growth. Add to that, often the topic of money was considered rude or taboo. And sometimes there's a willingness and expectation to help friends and family, even when it's at the expense of our own financial security. So these are just some roadblocks, right, about building our wealth. So I'm going to ask this to Stephanie, Beatriz, and Jen. Why is breaking these and other culture norms so hard for us? And how can we reconcile our desires to help those we love with our need to, quote unquote, pay ourselves first? Okay, I'm going to answer it too, but I'm going to be last. We can start with Beatriz and then go this way. We don't need mic.
Yeah, where am I?
I keep forgetting. I want to share.
I'm sorry. So please. Yeah, I mean, I think I talked about it a little bit. It's, you grow up with learning what you know, and that's how you build that relationship with money. But I mean, I'm not hopeful on the older generations. I don't think my mom is going to really change. I mean, my dad, when he passed away, we found the cash, and my dad almost, it was like, he wasn't an actor, he was an attorney, but he played the part of the attorney. Like, he was always like, he would tell my brother, who's also an attorney, but in jeans, like, vístete como un abogado, like, dress like an attorney, right? And like with a suit. But when my dad passed away, we found so much money in the inside pocket jackets of his suits. And we're like, why did he want that cash? But I mean, he had it. To this day, my mom went to Costco and bought a safe deposit box and has it in the closet. Like, I'm like, please don't have the safe deposit box with the cash in it's not like she has a lot of cash, but like, she's just like, she doesn't trust banks or the financial, and she's a rational, smart, educated woman, no, la doctora Acevedo, and she's just like, yo no le confío a este fulano, right? And there's nothing that's going to change. So I think certainly my dad, I'm not going to change. He's passed away. My mom is in her 80s. She's not going to change. But I do make sure that my kids are raised very, very differently, right? So because I wanted to stop with me. I'm now in charge of myself, of my mom, of my brother, of my kids. But I want to make sure that I change that narrative. I sort of break that cycle. I hear a lot of parents saying, ay, mi hija is my 401k. And it's like, kind of jokingly and sad, because that is exactly why we cannot build wealth. You're like, okay, you sort of advance in your career and you try your best. And to this day, I hear like, well, I did so much for my parents. I'm like, and I do as much as I can for you too, but absolutely. If you are going to be responsible for your parents, us as this sort of like sandwich generation, then the more so that you need to start prepping now. Like, how are you investing in yourself? How are you investing in your kids? And how are you going to manage that time when it comes? Yeah. There's another pretty prominent Latina, Nelly Galan, who was telling me that she has been investing for her parents for years and she never told them, right? And it was like $100, $200, but for decades. And now that the parents are older and sick and they needed help at home, the mom's like, well, we can't afford this, mija. And she's like, yeah, you can afford it. You're a millionaire, mom, okay? Because I put away money for you guys starting 30 years ago. Also, she wrote off that money because, there's a certain amount of money that you can do as gifts. So instead of giving it to the IRS as taxes, you're able to, give it as a gift to your family members. There's a limit, but it's pretty high. And you're able to invest that. So there's so many things that we just don't know. Yep. Because we didn't grow up with this information. That you're like, oh shit, all the money I paid in taxes, I could have started that for my own mom or for my kids. And so I think that, it's so important that at whatever stage of your financial journey you are, and I said it earlier, not as a diss to me that I'm definitely old. I mean, you're 35, I'm 55, right? So even at my age, I have a different plan today than when I had at 35 or at 15. It's never too late to start, but also it's never too early, right? I hear people saying, I'm already building my kid's credit and the kid is 7. And you're like, what? Like, how do we not know that? How do we know those tricks, those tools? So I think now we have this opportunity to ask, educate ourselves. There's so many resources. And just really change that narrative within one generation. So I think it's super, super important, primarily like the educational.
Yes. Thank you. Stephanie, why is breaking cultural norms so hard for us?
Well, really quick, did you guys know that you can write off gifts and invest them? Did you guys know that? Okay. How many of you guys have mattress money at home? No one has. I have mattress money. So breaking these norms are so important because it helps bridge the gap between those things. So when I was little, my dad used to always say, not little, but I mean, I'd leave the house and he would say, a girl always needs to have money, and he would slide me $10. And there was this thing that money brought, and it was security. So that hasn't left. I still make sure that I always have some money in my purse, and I still have a little stash at home. Like, sorry, but I still do. And really, I'm in that sandwich generation too, where I was raised this way, and I guess you can call me new money because I'm still trying to figure it all out and navigate all of these things. And also being an entrepreneur, there are these cycles. And thank you for saying that, because a lot of times we've seen it be sensationalized. Oh, they're a business owner, so they probably have a lot of money. That is the farthest thing from the truth. That is the farthest thing from the truth. Like, from the starting point to getting to your business to profitability. Yeah, you're in the trenches. Yes. And then even once you're profitable, doesn't mean you're going to be next month. And so really understanding money is very, very important. I think entrepreneurs too, we realize how important it is when you're in it. And you realize how much you don't know. Yeah, when you're in it. It's not until, I was driving the other day and I was like, wow, if I just stop all the things I'm doing, everything stops. So many people stop eating. I'm not talking about just me and my family. I'm talking about all my teams. We all stop eating. So it's a little scary. Yeah. So to answer your question, it's to get out of the fear. When you understand all the resources that are out there, if you understand how money is just a tool, that's all that it is. And keeping it in your toolbox is not gonna make it work for you. Like, for me, yes, it's energy. You need to get your money out. Spending money is good. Investing money is even better. And it's just learning how to circulate your money. And I'm just gonna do a plug. Like, I mean, I attempt to be as intentional as possible when I'm spending my money. My insurance agent, Latina. The people I buy my car, before I knew what kind of car I wanted, I called the dealership and I was like, do you have a Spanish speaking salesperson? And I'm speaking in English. And they were like, hold please. And it took them a while and they found one. And before I even got there, I made sure that I made an appointment with someone who spoke Spanish. Same thing. I said this on a panel once and they told me that I shouldn't have. However, I'm going to say it again, that I keep my money brown. Investing in our ecosystem is very important. Yes, I can't tell you. It was an insurance company, but the same thing, like when you guys came in, I told everyone, please make sure that you try all the food. It's all Latina brands. I am very intentional. Everywhere I go, I get my nails done, my hair, all my services.
Juntas podemos más.
Yes, and it takes a little extra work. It does take extra work. When you're making a reservation at an expensive restaurant that you know you're going to leave a big tip, to call and say, hey, I need a Spanish-speaking waiter. I don't, but my money does. Like, take the extra step. And if you don't have someone that does this or does that, call me. I have a directory in the works. It's coming. Ella will be launching that. But really, it's very easy. And we have, our community is so large. If we just supported each other's businesses, all of our businesses would be thriving. And there's enough for all of us.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Jen, I'm going to give you about a minute.
Yeah. No, I'll make it quick. I think culturally, a lot of where our hesitancy and either misinformation or lack of information comes from is guilt and shame and the way we were taught to think about money. And not thinking about money as a tool, but thinking about it as something that has negative energy, negative implications. And I know I heard a lot, money is the root of all evil. Yeah. Well, the verse is actually love of money is the root of all evil. Money is just a tool. Like you said, it's just an instrument, but what good is an instrument that you don't know how to play? You have to be able to use it, to leverage it, and you have to be willing to talk about it, but that brings up those feelings of guilt and shame. And so there's a lot of work that we have to do internally as individuals and recognize those feelings that are coming up and figure out how to process them and get through whatever kind of mindset stuff comes up. because it's going to come up. And if you're not at a place where you feel comfortable and confident, or at least are willing to take a risk in talking about money, how can you advocate for yourself to increase your pay? Or when you're at a job interview to ask for more money and negotiate? Or how can you be in a situation where you can raise the prices of what you sell in your business because you know that you need to in order to remain profitable? How can you make those decisions out of a place where you're feeling tremendous guilt and shame? You cannot. And so there's a lot of work internally that we have to do. So it's not our fault that these feelings come up, but once we recognize them, it is our responsibility individually to find the tools and find the people, find the resources and the network of people who can help you to process it, understand it, so then you can move forward in a more empowered way.
Thank you for that. I will say very quickly, for my personal experience through therapy, I needed the reminder that I can be loved even if I don't pay my family in Mexico for the quinceañera. Even if I decide not to contribute to something that, because Marisol, ella tiene dinero, ¿cómo no va a ayudar? How is she not going to support this? You are loved. You deserve all the love, and it has nothing to do with what you can provide to others, because we're not here to save our family. We're not responsible for that. We need to make sure that first, we understand that our worth is infinite, even with boundaries. I remember having to, specifically not about money, but yeah, actually, because my mom loved to say, mi hija va a ayudar. Ella va a ayudar. Ella va a ayudar. You know why? Because God has blessed her so much, she needs to give back. And it was me like, what? What am I doing? Whose AC am I buying? What? And I had to figure it out. I had to. And then I got to the point where I needed that to feel loved, because I loved the appreciation coming from family. Gracias, Marisol. We couldn't do it without you. So the reminder here is that you are worthy of love infinitely, because it's inherently the moment. Are you breathing? Worthy of love. Worthy of love. Worthy. So that means that if you have boundaries where you have to have a Post-it note in front of your mom and say, mami, agradezco tus sugerencias y las voy a poner en consideración cuando yo tome mi decisión. Mom, I love you. Thank you for your suggestion. I'm going to take it into consideration when I make my own decision. Right? Or even saying, you know what, family, I no longer want to be volunteered for something. Please let me know first, because I have different things that especially now, girl, I left corporate world. Marisol does not have that check every single 2 weeks, just like Stephanie said. So technically, I did myself a favor, because now they don't even worry about asking me, because like, no, vendió su casa, ya no puede ella, right? But if only they knew I'm actually investing in my wealth, and I am wealthier now than I ever was before. And it's okay to give, but you have to make sure, obviously too, that you don't expect it back. But you have to make sure that you are fed, you're clothed, you have everything you need first, because needs are different. You know what? I did my own nails. I do my own nails now. I am now self-assertive. My own lashes, me girl. I became bougie on a budget because it's intentional. Yeah. Okay. So this question is for Jenavi. I know we're like super at time, so we're just going to flow. Okay. Everybody stay. I love you so much. Okay. Latinos working full time, they earn 57 cents to every dollar a white non-Latino makes. Can I say something? Circle of trust, mediocre. They forgot the word here. Mediocre white non-Latino man makes. Of the 13 million Latina women who are active in the U.S. workforce, 70% hold an associate's or bachelor's degree. What? We're often told that education is the path to success. And indeed, higher education can, but when compared to mediocre white non-Latino male counterparts, the wage gap ironically widens. Why is this issue that should matter to everyone, not just us Latinas? And I'm sure you in corporate world, especially in banking.
Well, you talked about it. We all talked about it. It's not just our lives. It's not just our financial, it's not just personal financial implications. It's your kids and your family. It's your parents. It's your whole community around you. So what happens to us is really happening to a multitude of people. And so that's why it's really important, not just for us as individuals or not just for the other people that we help support financially, but for the rest of the community. You have to take care of the people who take care of you. Absolutely. Latinas disproportionately we over-index in service industries, and service jobs are they're more susceptible to the ebbs and flows of what happens in the economy, and they're also the lowest paying kinds of jobs. So when we can close that gap, when as a larger community, when we can shift what happens and create more equity in the entire economic system, it doesn't just impact the individual Latina who's earning that paycheck, it impacts her family and it impacts the community, because when you have money, you spend that money and you put it back into the community. You can afford to live your values in a way that gives you that opportunity to use your money energetically, to put it in places where you know it's going to make a difference. And so that's why it's really important. Obviously, we should all be paid fairly and equitably, but it's not just about fairness and equity. It's about the exponential impact that happens when you're supporting and creating equity for Latinas specifically.
Absolutely. Yes.
Can I say something? I promise I'll skip my other ones. Can I do a minute and then don't ask me anything else? Okay, because this is my thing. Like, I've written a lot about this. This is my thing. And I'll cut short my end thing, not because I'm going to cut it short, but you guys will have free access to this app, and everything I was going to teach you in 20 minutes, I can do in 5 and just guide you to that. Anyway,
we got this.
There's two things that are super important when it comes to Latina Equal Pay. We keep hearing that, Latinas make less because of the jobs that they do. That is absolutely not true. The wage gap becomes wider the more educated you are. Okay? So Latinas are going to lose in their productive 40-year career about $1.2 million each. But if you have an associate's degree or a college degree, you're going to lose $2.5 million. So don't get an education, get into debt, do that. It's all very, very good. I have a different view. But still, it's not because you clean a home. And to your point, una abogada, a doctor who was cum laude in her class versus a white guy that barely made it through law school, he's still going to make more money. Barely. Okay? And also from an Ivy League. So it's not like, because they went to a non-Ivy League. So no, you can compare Harvard to Harvard, cum laude to mediocre. It's still a $2.5 million difference. Now, how can that be? Like, I really think, like, do white men wake up in the mornings thinking, how do we pay Latinas less? Because we are at the bottom. I mean, every woman makes less.
That fragile masculinity.
Except Asian women, right? I mean, they're very better negotiators, I think, than ours. But I do have to say, like, yes, the system is broken. Yes, we need to lobby for equal pay. All of that, yes. But to me, it's very hard to just be like, okay, I'm going to wait, till the rules change and somebody audits my company. And I do get into a lot of trouble when I say this, especially from Latina activists who are like, it's not on Latinas. I'm like, okay, but are we just going to ask Latinas to wait and give up $2.5 million? No.
Exactly.
When I had my previous company at Me Too, I had primarily all women working there, okay? And when I learned about the pay gap, I was like, no, this can't be possible. So I went to HR. I'm like, can you tell me how much this VP makes versus the men made more? And I was like, mortified. This is my company. How did this happen? Like, this is not okay. So I started doing the reviews and the promotions and everything myself. This is what I found. 99% of Latinas, except for one, when I told them they were getting a promotion, they were only grateful. We are so grateful. We're going to work harder for you. I'm like, I'm not asking you to work harder. We're going to work more hours. And I was like, well, do you want to know how much is fixed? Whatever you consider. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I'm so grateful for your And I was like, oh my God, the men, here they come, the Latinos, exhausted me. Hours of negotiations, hours. I mean, work from home wasn't even a thing back then. And they were negotiating flexible work and an extra bonus. And it was hours. I was just like, I'm exhausted from these negotiations. The women were grateful. The men were fierce negotiators, right? And I have to say, for me, it's also so hard to negotiate. I have a stomach ache. I feel terrible. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm una malagradecida from what, but I hear the voices of my abuelita and my mom and my bringing me up, just thinking like, mijita, calladita te ves más bonita, you know, like just be quiet and grateful. And that is a very much immigrant mentality, very much like don't make any waves, don't be noticeable. And maybe that served them in a different generation as immigrants and new to this country. But for this generation, like for me, for my daughter, it's like, no, calladita no te ves más bonita. You know, we need our voices. We need women to stand up. We need women to raise their hands. And I think, you know, yes, the system screwed up. And yes, we need the lobbying. We need everything for equal pay. But we also need Latinas to at least be mindful that, you know, we have to ask for our work.
It starts with us advocating for ourselves as individuals.
Yeah.
And it's the misunderstanding that the company's doing us a favor when we're actually providing exquisite value.
Of course. Well, listen, in the next 10 years, 80% of the new workers will be Latinos, right? So it's like, I mean, there's no favor here. Like, and look at where the country is going. Like, if you don't cater to Latinos, you're not going to grow, you're not going to survive. And to your point of like, oh, we lose and our families lose and our communities lose, sure. But America loses too. Out of the $9 million Latinas in the workforce, America is losing $22 trillion of our contributions back to every American, not just Latinos, right? So hospitals, education, I mean, everything, parks, Social Security, which we have to carry on our shoulders. So America loses when Latinas are paid less. It's not just Latinos.
Stephanie, this made me think of you. Thank you, Beatriz, because I told you this morning, I was like, you're a trailblazer girl. No one's had this type of brick and mortar here in Arizona. And it made me think, I love Rachel Rogers. She's a lawyer, she's a coach, she's a business coach. And I read her book and she made it very clear that you, Stephanie, are one of the trailblazers because we haven't been able as women to even own our own mortgages, our own land, our own businesses. And it's only been 1970s. And that's for white women. Black and Latina women of color didn't even have those options yet. But men have had centuries. And already we're getting closer and closer to closing the gap. So yes, we're not where we want and need to be. But man, they got such a big running start from us. And look what we're doing now. So I just want to applaud all of you because without you guys, we wouldn't be able to follow behind in those trailblazing expeditions that you guys are going through and what you guys will be doing too. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and keep going. Yes, thank you. Yes, round of applause. So I'm going to ask Beatriz and Jen, why do you think when we talk about debt, like a mortgage, that can increase our wealth over time, but Black and Hispanic households have a disproportionately lower share of home debt? And by contrast, we tend to have an higher credit card debt. So why do you think more Latinas should pay attention to the effects of credit and debt, and what role does that play in their financial empowerment? So we'll start with you.
I promise I would skip, so you.
No.
It's okay. Actually, I'm gonna
because then there's
I'm gonna honor that. Yeah.
Okay.
Would you like to?
No, overly tough.
Okay, so why should we pay attention to it?
Yeah. Why do you think more Latinas should pay attention to the effects of credit and debt? And what role does that play in their financial empowerment?
Well, you can leverage. Your mortgage is not, that is good debt. That is very good debt. And leveraging that is something that can be utilized as a tool. So I think it's very important to understand how to utilize these mechanisms to help you. Also, like you guys all, I shouldn't say you should. I would highly recommend you own your homes, you own the buildings that your businesses are in, that you own as much as you can. You know, the word landlord, the lord of the land, be the lord of your own land.
And it's possible.
Oh, 100%. I say that and I don't own the building. However, it's coming. Don't you guys? I'm on my way. But really understanding those systems that are in place. And again, we keep talking about the white man. I am going to say that I don't fault the white man for the system that was in place. They were just a role in it. However, I stand in responsibility to what I am going to create and what I'm going to help to create. So you guys, yes, we are making less than the white man. But what are you going to do about it? And what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Stand in your power. Something about it. Buy your coffee from a Latina. Just saying.
Thank you. Jen, take it away.
I told my boss I better not find out that the white guy who had my job before me is making more money than I am. That takes some cojones to do that. But if I don't do it for myself, then who else is going to do it? I want him to know who he's talking to. I want him to know how much he should value what I bring to the table. And this is something that I talk about openly. And my boss, who's a middle-aged white guy, I talk to him all the time about his responsibility as a middle-aged white guy with influence and power and what he should be doing. So we talk about the individual responsibilities that we have to own our power and to do what we need to be in a place where when you work your way up and you have influence in your organization or in your community or whatever it is, I feel like we do have a responsibility to leverage that influence, not just for ourselves, but when we do it for ourselves, it makes it easier for every brown girl coming up with us and behind us. Absolutely. So I forgot what the question even was, but you know, so we talked about owning our decisions, owning our power, owning our land, owning our businesses. I just bought a house a year ago. My husband and I bought a house, big, beautiful, like dream house. I bought it with my credit, with just my salary, even though we're a 2-income household. And it's just, well, I added his name, but it was just my name. We still had to get a notary to go to Vegas where he was for work, for him to sign I know my wife is buying a house without me paperwork.
Insane, isn't it?
Yeah, for real. Like, crazy, yes. But my husband is a white guy, and so I thought it was like really funny and ironic to be in that situation. But yeah, but that is still a thing. Like, you couldn't get credit until like 1970, and again, it was women, and we like the system won't change until we force it to change. So like you said, we're not sitting around waiting for somebody else to do this. You have to force their hand a little bit, apply a little bit of pressure, but we have a lot of power collectively and individually. And once you start to realize even just a little taste of what it's like to be able to negotiate for yourself, to stand up for yourself, you will be unstoppable. People will call you a bulldozer and you'll be like, yes, I am.
That's right.
Like, what are you going to do about it?
Thank you. So there's 2 more questions. Bear with us. We're talkers. We wouldn't be Latinas if we weren't talkers, okay? Thank you. And if you're feeling a little bit of anger, good. I think that's a really good sign because that's going to fuel you to take bold steps and be that. Do you say Boulder? Yeah, be a Boulder. Be like Miley Cyrus in a wrecking ball, right? Okay. Yeah, so let's dive right into savings, retirement, and a path to financial empowerment. This is when we might get a little triggered, but take a really big deep breath, okay? We're not here to compare ourselves to what other people are doing. We're just here to better understand what next steps we need to take, okay? So many of us grew up with parents and grandparents who had like a scarcity mindset, really rarely saved enough for indulgences, let alone for retirement. And it's no surprise that Latinos have a lower participation and allocation in retirement accounts than in the white non-Hispanic counterparts. But Latinas are moving in the right direction. 52% of Latina investors say they feel more knowledgeable about their investments and retirement planning than they did 5 years ago. So I'm going to have Beatriz, please, if you could answer this question. What are some things that Latinas can do to break familial and cultural bad habits and start saving for their futures today?
Yeah, I think we touched on it before. I mean, really just educating ourselves and learning how to do it. I think, I hear a lot of Latinas say, I want to invest, but I don't have money to invest. I'm like, you have money to invest because we also know that Latinas are buying a lot of the goods in the economy. Yeah. So I'm like, and people, this is another like trigger warning because we were like, I'm not going to give up, whatever, or something for something else. But I'm not saying don't buy makeup.
You learn to do it yourself.
Buy makeup, but maybe save 20% one less lipstick and invest in that company. You're already supporting it, right? So we always say the new like Latino spending report just came out and it's like Latino spend $2.4 trillion a year. And I'm like, oh, mortified because I'm like, how much are we investing? How much are we saving for retirement? I mean, In the pandemic, Latino families had an average of $1,000 savings for emergency savings, $1,000 per family. I mean, how long did the pandemic last? Like $1,000 is not enough. But we're also the demo that spends the most. So no tengo dinero, pero tengo la right. Pero you I mean, it's not. We shop a lot. I mean, that's the reality. So where's the money coming for the shopping? So if you're shopping, then we just need to change a little of that habit. Yes, date el gustito, shop what you like, but then you love this company, then invest in it and start teaching the kids. That's the other thing, right? If you're going to give your kids or your sobrinitas something for the holidays are coming up. You know what? I'm also married to a white guy. His dad would give him stock for his 8th and 10th and 11th birthday. Like my parents could have given me stock, but they had no idea they could do that. And to this day, he gets those dividends from those companies from when he was 8, which is crazy. So if you're going to buy 6 toys, maybe buy 4, and then 2 more, give them of like what your kids like. Disney, great. So then you can, when you go to Disney and spend thousands of dollars at Disney, you can say, listen, you're a shareholder. Explain to your kid what it means. Going from consumers to owners is the best thing we could do for our families, right? And just explain that. What does that mean? How is your money growing? There's so much available now. A few years ago, if you were not something that people called an accredited investor, and I'll talk a little bit about this later, which meant you had to have a net worth of $1 million. So not counting all your debt, you still had to have $1 million, not counting your main home. So it was very hard for people to say, oh, I could be an investor. But there are things that you can start investing with $5 today. That was not the case 10 years ago. So today, it's so open for everybody. But we never learned that this is now available to us,
right.
you know? So I
Thank
think,
you.
yeah, anyway.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. I know I'm like trying to be like, and I'll just briefly say, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. No don't have any additional regret or overwhelm for what you could have done or what you didn't do. Forgive yourself for the misunderstanding of how you managed your money. Now you get to pivot, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can forgive yourself to have the mindset to get empowered, to go educate yourself and to learn new tools like today. So forgive yourself. Can you forgive yourself? Beautiful. Okay, last question. Everyone's going to answer, so 30 seconds, okay? Entrepreneurship. Latinas are opening small businesses faster and faster than any other group right now, according to the Small Business Administration. And JP Morgan Chase recently said that Latino-owned businesses may be the U.S. economy's best bet. Maybe. We are. Many Latinos believe entrepreneurship is the best and fastest path to closing the wage gap, strengthening communities, and building generational wealth. So, 30-second question. What do you think is driving the trend of Latina entrepreneurship, and how can we empower more Latinas to go for it? Stephanie, let's go, baby.
The reason why we are opening our own businesses and brands is because the ceilings are so low. We are now the heads of households. Like myself, I'm the head of my household, and I could not survive on a teaching pay. So I think that those are some of the combinations. We're the head of households. Our pay is just not able to sustain our livelihoods.
I make real good money in my job, and that's what gives me the ability to have my own business, and it's what gives me the ability to say the things I say and do the things I do in my corporate role, because I'm not afraid to not have that job tomorrow, because I know that I know how to make money through it. I could start a totally different business tomorrow. The first business I had is completely different from the business that I have right now. But I know that I have access to information, resources. I trust myself enough to know that I know how to make money no matter what, that I know that I'm resilient, that I know that even if I lost this house and I was in a studio apartment with my family, that I would still be okay, because that kind of stuff has already happened to me before. Like there's nothing that's happened that I know I can't bounce back from. So with entrepreneurship, it's that even so much more, because I can make decisions that I feel empowered by and not worry about money, because I know that I can figure out a way to make it, and it doesn't have to be getting paid by a white guy either.
I love that. Thank you. Beatriz.
Yeah, I think, there's more businesses being launched during the pandemic than ever before. why. I mean, you either do it by choice, become an entrepreneur, or by necessity. I became an entrepreneur by necessity when I lost my job, and a lot of other women do the same. Also, women, take care of aging parents, take care of young kids. So the flexibility is something that we all crave when you are an entrepreneur, but obviously entrepreneurship is hard. Access to capital is hard for Latin. I mean, there's so much to unpack there. There's no way 30 seconds.
So sorry.
No. We're going to have a Jefa business boot camp at SUMA. I'll tell you guys all about it in a second. It's free for everybody here. And there you can really unpack, how do you do from every single step, and we'll have a lot of resources there.
Beautiful. So I'll end with decided to become an entrepreneur because I wanted to redefine what stability was for me. Because in corporate, I went through many reorgs and I was safe, but it was the unbelievable thought of, oh my gosh, is this really stable? Am I really going to be able to get let go? And then what do I do after that? I'm not saying you have to quit your job and start your business. This is actually the harder way to do it, is leaving your corporate or your job way easier. For me, I had incredible leadership for so many years, and the last leadership I had took me to HR, was jealous that I had a relationship with the CEO, started saying that I wasn't meeting my requirements when I had proof that I had. I started recording the calls, right? And I couldn't live in that mindset. So for the first time ever, Latinas, we are allowed to do this. I took a short-term leave of absence. And I never thought I would be the one that would do that because I loved what I did. I loved marketing. I'm great at it. And that in itself, when I broke, I realized, okay, I'm breaking, but I get to mold myself in a different way. I get to redefine stability. So I might be doing it the harder way, but I'm redefining what stability is. And I'm saying I'm not making what I was making then, but I am much more wealthier now because I'm aligning with what my purpose is. So entrepreneurship for me is giving myself the permission to be my full authentic self, and no one can take me to HR because I'm a boss. Thank you. Okay, so that wraps it up. We're a little behind, but please, everyone, please share where they can find you on social media. Beatriz.
First, my best place is on LinkedIn, so just my name, Beatriz Acevedo, to connect.
Beautiful. Stephanie.
Well, if you go to any one of the apps, there's a link tree on all of them to connect all of it. So let's make it easy. And you could just find me on Instagram, Stephanie_FTC. And then please follow, like, and share all the other pages. And before you leave, take a walk around and shop 30 Latina brands before you leave.
13 new ones as of Friday. Okay. La Jefa, where do we find you?
At La Jefa Status on Instagram. And I have business cards and stickers back there. But yeah, at La Jefa Status.
Beautiful. And you can find me at the Marisol Isaula. So I'm going to give the mic back to Areli or straight to Beatriz. You let me know. Or we can do some karaoke. Ted, here, baby.
So my question as a first gen, trying to make it out here in the adult world and the way that the world is now in the job market, what is the best advice that you could give to a young 25-year-old that's just, trying to take the first step into adulthood, to make their parents proud, to get that job, to get out there? What's the best advice that you could give to someone that's trying to start out?
I can feel everything you're saying. I would say let go of other people's expectations of you. Like, sit with yourself. What do you want? What feels good to you? How do you want to live your life and define yourself? And to take the next step. No matter how afraid you are, take the next step. And then take the next one. And then take the next one. And you're not going to make it out alive. I say this to everyone. You're not going to make it out alive. Like, go have fun. Enjoy this journey.
And it's going to take experimenting. You're going to have different experiences to see what you like. I've been in my industry for 15 years, but I had 10 jobs in the span of like a year, trying to figure out what it is I wanted to do, what fulfilled me, what made me happy. And what I do, most people would say, like, it's very competitive, like, don't go to an art school, don't try to do these things where hardly anybody is successful in those roles. Like, if you spend some time figuring out what it is that fulfills you and you pursue that, like I said, it's going to take experimentation. You try a whole bunch of different things and be like, that's not it. That's not it. And people will say like, you're a quitter and you don't have any follow through, and will think that, will think that you don't know what you're doing, but you do. It just takes those experiences to find out what that is. And that's 100% okay, 1000% normal. And not everybody has to understand it. It's all just for you.
I'll add to...
And being here is a good first step.
1000%. I'll add to, because I do remember those years of wanting to make sure everyone was proud of me before myself. Your parents will be proud of you regardless of what you do, even if it's not what they think you should do, if that makes sense, right? Also, does anybody follow the aerospace scientist Neil Tyson deGrasse? Oh my gosh, in love with him. And he talks about something so beautiful, like the universe, truly the energy conspired for you to be alive. And there could be trillions, even more amount of people, but you are alive. You have a purpose. You are so unbelievably magical and worthy of everything that universe has for you. And at the end of the day, what is the worst thing that can happen?
Just recently graduated with my master's a couple months ago. Thank you. And I just landed what I call my first big girl job. And it has to do with something that I'm very passionate about. But I've noticed that as a young Latina in this space, I'm surrounded by a lot of white, older males. I'm wondering, how do I learn how to own my space being in this and like knowing that I'm an educated Latina just trying to grow and flourish in my career?
With me on Instagram, and we could talk a lot about this. I'll give you my whole step-by-step for exactly to do that. But I'll just say, just for everybody here, how I would answer that question is just be professional and don't be afraid to share your opinion when you have one. And don't be afraid to just sit there and listen when you feel like you need to absorb the information first. Like just don't worry about being anybody else but yourself. And then when you have something to say, don't be afraid to say it. I think that's really the first place to start.
Thank you. Thank you. If you want to pass the mic, and we'll do one more 10-second answer.
Yeah, this one is hopefully a short one. So I am not from here, sadly. I'm from New Jersey, but I'm visiting my best friend. But I just wanted to ask you, ladies, any advice you have for creating spaces for these conversations. I know that there's this organization, which is great. But for somebody who's a little bit, smaller scale, starting out and wanting to curate these spaces, what advice do you have for setting up panels like this and events like this for our community?
I'll personally say messy action. If you have a group of girlfriends that wants to have a dinner together, and then you ask a question like, hey, so where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Start the conversation. Start messy action. I hosted my first in-person workshop here on the Sunday, and it's sold out. And I would have never imagined that would happen, but I just started building a community, started reaching out to people. Let's go to a restaurant. Let's also connect with people like Stephanie that owned Latina-owned businesses. Hey, can we host an event here? I'd like to promote it and promote you. Lives, podcasts, whatever it is, but get your message out. Do messy action. Because it's going to be uncomfortable regardless. You just have to take that. You have to know what your goal is. And that's to create and cultivate power and connection, porque we deserve the poder in front of collective energies like this.
Yeah.
Right, that expenses to help you know where you stand financially, to coach you. Obviously, what we heard here, I'm going to plug SUMA just here quickly, just because you guys are getting the free access to the membership. And it is built by Latinos for Latinos. Nowhere else you're going to see the FLAN budgeting method, for example. You will see the 50, 30, 20 everywhere, but not in the FLAN. So we have a lot of budgeting hacks. I'll send you guys a link to this also, so you guys can have all these resources. But the app really starts with a financial checkup. We call it a financial limpia, okay? We don't clean your bad money habits con un huevo or with Sage, but with data science. So it is AI enabled. It's gonna check where you stand, no shame, okay? You're going to be able to take a look at where you stand financially. It's a little scary at the beginning, but you can't progress what you can't measure, right? So you'll know where you are. It's gonna be in a very loving voice. It's gonna sound like your abuelita. There's a lot of échale ganas y ponte las pilas. but it's 24 hours really looking into how you're spending your money, helping you optimize, helping you save. It has a budgeting tool. It has that rent versus buy calculator. Maybe you're paying more in rent than you should be paying owning something. We have all these resources. Are you a first-time home buyer? Do you qualify for a grant to put the down payment? Click here, we take you there. So this really, our platform is for Latinos and their families to build wealth. It doesn't matter at what stage of your financial journey you are. Like I said, we use a lot of Bad Bunny memes, a lot of gorditas and arepas, a lot of avocados to explain how ripe your credit is, guacamalo or guacaready. And we have all kinds of videos, okay? How do you up your credit? There was a question about credit before. How you start investing, we touched upon it very little. What is compound interest? What are fractional shares? How do I start? Who can I trust? There's all of these resources. Investing is definitely super, super important, but it's also important to know the risk. Also, it's important that if you're going to do it, in a more if you're going to spend more of your money in investing, you do talk to a financial advisor. That's always a great thing. If you're going to say, I'm going to, play with $100 with the companies I already, and you don't care to lose that money, then you could do it on your own and learn as you go. But there's a lot of resources out there. Like I said, we are not the only company. We are the only company we are all Latinas in the C-suite, okay? Like it is fully Latina owned, Latina led. So we know, where our pain points are from our families, how we need to take care of our older family members, everything that we talked about today. So everybody with this code, SUMA Poderistas, is going to be able to get to do. One was budgeting. You have to have control of your finances, right? Money in, money out. If you don't have an idea of how much you're spending versus what you're making, it's going to be a disaster. If you do one thing, is have a real budget and really understand what you can spend and what you can't. And then there's a lot of different ways. You can do it with a flan or with something else, but needs, wants, and how much you're saving or how much you are using to pay off debt that you already have. And then the second one we said is like, grow your money while you're asleep. It's not going to happen if you have it under your colchon or in the Café Bustelo tin. Like it's not going to work. But talk to professionals. I mean, even when the market comes down, it goes up. That's how it's been historically. So there is a percentage of what it is. It's a long game. It's not a quick thing. You have to be patient. But then there's a lot of tax things that you can do that you're like, anyway, I would have paid this in taxes, better invested in. And the last one is we talked a lot about it, money and mindfulness, right? Just like they say, you are what you eat, you are what you think, right? Tú eres lo que tú piensas. So changing, I didn't even know, but I put that word. We've talked a lot. Everything that's unconscious to us, everything that we heard growing up, we need to know what it is and then really try to start changing, the way we think about money, the way we think about ourselves. I love that. Like, forgive yourselves. I just started and I said it twice already. I'm 55 years old and I still think I have a chance to build more wealth. So what I didn't do in my 20s, I didn't do. I made the decisions at the moment with the resources that I had, the best that I could, right? And that is okay. But you guys are here now. You know now. Younger generations in your family will know because of you. We see that in our platform, which we're getting close to getting in just 2 years, 1 million users. So that is like an incredible milestone thing. And they are managing the finances for 3 additional family members, right? They're those Sherpa navigators, influencers in their families and communities. So I know you guys will be able to be that too for younger generations, just to be like, there's these resources, what you learn, you can pass on. This one, we can skip this one because I was just more in the mindset. So, and like I was saying, we have a ton of calculators that you guys will get access to: credit card payoff calculator, grow your ahorros calculator, rent versus buy. RP has amazing calculators, so user calculators as well, because they are the sponsor of our session today. So don't use the SUMA ones, use the AARP ones, and then use the other stuff from SUMA. But you'll get access to this too. And then the last slide, I think, I just want to show you what the product looks like. That's what we call it, that fancy word, but really the app. So we are going to be able to put, you do have to connect your bank accounts. Like I said, it's like the same security as a bank. And that's how it'll know you. I spend every day on Amazon. It knows that I buy dog food. It knows that I have kids in college. So it sends me tips and savings and everything personalized to me. It will never send me there's no spamming anything, but it is like it gets to really know you and say like, okay, we notice that you buy a lot on Instacart, for example, which I do because my tortillas get to my home fresh from Instacart. But I always say no to the subscription because I don't want to pay $20. But then it's like you could have, with the $20, you would have saved $200 last year. I'm like, oh, I'm going to buy the subscription. So it's always working for you guys. So that you get the financial tools that we just talked about. You get a ton of money insights. Listen, you can do this better, maybe try this. So it's almost like having a financial advisor in your pocket. The app is only in English now, but we say in culture. You can see a lot of Flan, Luchadores, and Bad Bunny, but the app will be in Spanish starting the year because a lot of people say, do you have this in Spanish for my mom, my dad, my tia, my tío? So we're going to have that. And then we also have our SUMAversity, which we have in partnership actually with Arizona State University. So you're able to do a money boot camp on the app and get a personal finance certificate for free from Arizona State University. So we are fun, we are funny, we are campy, we got a lot of avocados, but we are legit. So Arizona State University will give you that certificate in personal finance when you complete the boot camp. And in January, we are launching our Jefa Business Bootcamp based on Jefa in Training. It is a book by a Latina author, which I'm never going to know how to pronounce her last name, but it's Ashley, her first name. And that is going to also be a certification. We're doing that with Digital Undivided. So anybody who wants to sign up, for anybody who came here, it's free. It's not going to be free for everybody else. The other one is Personal Finance, which has everything. How you start investing, what's a 401k, what's a Roth IRA, all those things, but in fun, short videos with super simple quizzes. And at the end, you can get your certification. And then that's how you'll look like if anybody here is Mexican and ate those paletas payasos. That's how we kind of rate your credit. It doesn't have an eye or it's been in the mouth. That's not too good. But if it's like a happy face in green, you're doing amazing. But it's very positive. Like I said, everybody's in their journey, and at whatever stage of your journey you are, we want to help you. And again, it's not just SUMA. There's a lot of resources out there. I have a lot of other fellow fintech company CEOs who you might like their companies better, and I encourage you to check them out. Like I said, ours is 100% Latina-led. You have the code to check it out, but please look for these resources with us or with anybody else. So if you follow our Instagram, which is We Are SUMA, on any platform, or you follow me on LinkedIn, we're able to, let you know what's going on. All of our education is free, all of it. The app is not, but it is free to you guys because you have the code. And thank you so much for having us. I think we are kind of on time now.
No idea the time.
We're so thankful for you guys to be here and listen to them. So being here with one another is very empowering. So thank you so much for having us. Thank you to Stephanie for allowing us to continue using this space. We hope to continue having these conversations and come back year after year. Thank you to AARP for being our sponsor and supporting Latinas in this journey. We are so excited to have this, and we will be making posts and tagging everyone so you guys can have their handles and be in contact with them.